Lexi's Cyanide Bluff. The city slept uneasily under the neon glow of the streetlights, its shadows alive with whispers of crime and danger. Among the whispered names of the underworld, none struck fear quite like Lexi, Cyanide, Cross. She was a master thief, a shadow in the night who always seemed to vanish just when her pursuers thought they had her cornered. But it wasn't her skills that gave her an edge, it was her legend. Rumor had it that Lexi carried a vial of potassium cyanide in her jacket pocket, ready to unleash it at the first sign of trouble. The story went that if the cops tried to lay hands on her, she'd whip it out, crack it open, and blind them with the deadly powder. It was enough to make even the bravest officers think twice before trying to grab her. Lexi's dangerous, they said in hushed tones over late-night coffee in precinct break rooms. She'll take you down before you even see it coming. Lexi reveled in her reputation. It made her life so much easier. No one wanted to mess with a woman who might toss poison in their face. But the truth was much simpler. Lexi didn't actually have cyanide in her pocket. What she had was powdered sugar stuffed into an old, tiny perfume bottle she'd found at a flea market. Deadlier than any bullet, she'd laugh to herself every time she topped it off with the sugary powder. The bottle wasn't even the real weapon, her brain was. She was a master of misdirection, always 2 steps ahead of anyone trying to catch her. One particularly rainy night, Lexi found herself in the middle of what should have been a quick job, robbing a high-stakes poker game held in the back room of an illegal club. She'd slipped in unnoticed, just as she always did, and was seconds away from walking out with a velvet pouch filled with diamonds and cash when the door slammed open. Police. Hands where I can see them. A squad of officers poured into the room, their flashlights cutting through the dim haze of cigarette smoke. Lexi froze for half a second, calculating her next move. Then, with a sly smile, she reached into her pocket. "Careful now," she purred, her voice dripping with mock sweetness. "You don't want to make me nervous. You know what happens if I open this." The cops hesitated. One officer, a grizzled sergeant who clearly didn't buy into the cyanide story, barked, "Don't play games with us, Lexi. Drop it and get on the ground." But Lexi had already unscrewed the top of the tiny bottle, holding it out like a grenade with the pin pulled. The officers stepped back instinctively, and Lexi used their hesitation to dart toward the back exit. "Stop her," the sergeant shouted, but none of his men wanted to get close enough to risk a face full of poison. Lexi bolted into the alley, her boots splashing through puddles as sirens wailed in the distance. She turned a corner and ducked into a doorway, pressing herself against the cold brick as she caught her breath. "Close call," she muttered, tucking the bottle back into her pocket. She'd almost felt bad for the young rookie in the poker room, the one whose hands had been trembling as he aimed his flashlight at her. The diamonds weighed comfortably in her pocket, but the thrill of the heist wasn't enough tonight. Lexi decided she needed to remind the city just why no one could catch her. By the next morning, the story was everywhere. They almost had her, a bartender told his customers as he poured whiskey into coffee mugs. But then she pulled out the cyanide, and they didn't stand a chance. "She's untouchable, poison in her pocket," another muttered in awe. "She's not human. She's a ghost." Lexi listened to the gossip with a smirk as she sat at the counter of a greasy diner, a mug of black coffee warming her hands. Her hat was pulled low over her face, her hair tucked into a braid that didn't quite match the description circulating in the papers. The waitress refilled her coffee and gave her a knowing wink. "Heard the cops are offering a reward for anyone brave enough to bring you in," she said quietly. Lexi raised her cup in a mock toast. "Then I guess it's good no one's that brave," she replied. The waitress chuckled and walked away, and Lexi leaned back in her seat, savoring the moment. Her powdered sugar had once again done its job, and the legend of Lexi, Cyanide, Cross was alive and well. Because in this city, fear was her greatest weapon, and she knew exactly how to use it.